Well, today everybody, in this video, I want to tell you guys which guitars I used to write my new album, Humans Taste Bad, that'll be out January 10th. Let's get into it. I want to sit down with you all today because I love talking about guitars. That's predominantly what my channel has been built on and continues to talk about. But also too, I love creating my own music and I love giving some insight on when it's my turn to create, when it's my turn to play, what I'm looking for, what I'm trying to get out of my guitars, what types of sounds, and ultimately which tools I choose for the job. So I brought some guests with me. They're just out of frame waiting backstage. I'll be sure to call them on when the time is appropriate for their turn. But I just wanted to let you guys know about the album real quick. So essentially, this is my third solo album. And I wrote this album all throughout early to mid, and honestly kind of even late 2024. But basically, it was written all last year whenever I had some time off, some time home, because I was gone for give or take 8 or 9 months out of the year in 2024. I would go on tour, I'd come home for like 10 to 12 days, and then I'd go back out, and I did that like 5 or 6 times this past year. So whenever I was home from those like 10 to 12 days, I'd always try to write some song or at least some sort of arrangement, and then when I came home, continue to work on it. I got the majority of the album done around the summertime when I had like an actual month off. So this album has been written, over the last 10, 11 months, something like that, okay? And the sound of this album is kind of similar to what I've done before, but it is kind of taken up a notch in the sense that Subtle Comeback was very much like shreddy and kind of a lot of lead guitar stuff, as well as there was a lot more synths and a lot more like kind of keyboard textures and kind of almost dubstep and like video game soundtrack type of sounds, like the song Kick It, for example, like very video game soundtracky, right? Well, this album is kind of the same idea, but a natural evolution to where I kind of ditched all the solos. I wrote Subtle Comeback with a lot of solos because I wanted to just see what I could do, what I could create whenever I just needed to write a lead part, right? But leads aren't really my favorite thing, so I made this next album completely riff oriented and no solos. And the sound itself is, like I said, it's kind of like Subtle Comeback, but there's more EDM and more tech stuff and more synths involved and kind of cool hip hop weird elements and stuff like that. And that's just a natural evolution going from Chronic Bane to Subtle Comeback to now Humans Taste Bad. So it's a nice natural evolution and I'm really stoked on it. So again, January 10th, Humans Taste Bad. It'll be out everywhere. Follow me on any sort of streaming service platform, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, yada, yada, yada. I'm out everywhere, okay? With that being said, let's call on my first guest. So it's no surprise that my number one signature guitar is on the album, right? So this guitar is currently set up in drop F, and I think all of the drop F songs were written and recorded on this guitar. My favorite one is the opening track, and that is called Like Frostbite. I got a music video coming out for it as well. But yeah, all the drop F stuff on my number one. This is completely stock. This has a humbucker-sized P90 Guitar Murray pickup in it, and that's pretty much it. No tone, no nothing. Just one pickup, one volume. All of the drop F stuff was on this guitar. The next guitar I used is for one song, and it's a song called When I Needed You. And I wrote that, I think last on the whole album. I wrote it in November when I was in Los Angeles for the week, in between the Los Angeles and Las Vegas festivals that I played with Elijah. We had time in an Airbnb to get some work done, so I did some ghostwriting and sent out some songs for other people, but I also kept one for myself, and it's called When I Needed You. It's in drop C, and it was on my number 2. So that one has the EMG in it and the big J on it. You guys have seen that guitar. So that being said, that was just another one of my signatures that made it on the album, and I used it for one song. That song's cool because it sounds different than like all the other ones on the album because it was written and recorded remotely, and I didn't have my natural setup. At home I had a different setup on a travel rig, so you can audibly hear that it sounds different, but that in of itself kind of gives it a unique charm and like kind of the outlier of the whole album. So I kind of dig that. Up next, we have another guitar on the album for one song, one single that's already released, and it's a song called Song for Ola. I said this story before when I released this song and I played this guitar on the playthrough that's on my channel, but basically I was watching Sunday with Ola and listening to the Chug Project, and I got really inspired to create an arrangement, and I couldn't really think of a title for it, and I was just like, you know what, this is Song for Ola, because I was inspired by the man himself, and I just wanted to kind of, make it a nice kind of cool thing where I was playing his guitar, or playing his brand's guitar, and like I said, I was inspired by what he created, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna call it that because it's a nice little tribute to where I was at, you know, that Sunday afternoon or whenever I wrote that song. This is my Solar A2.6, and it is set up in drop C. I have the signature Fishman Fluff pickup in here that's discontinued and out of stock, out of print, out of production, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, this guitar was on one song on the album. And like I said, it's already out. It's a single on the album. But yeah, check it out. It's pretty sick. Up next, if there was one guitar that was used the most on the album, I do in fact think it was this one right here, my 2021 Fender Ultra Luxe Stratocaster. That looks like it's been to hell and back. I love this guitar so much. I've had this guitar for 4 years now, and I've fought tooth and nail to get this thing to work for me. The most problems I had with this guitar was, in fact, tuning stability, because I never really gelled with Floyd Roses. I tried a bunch of different setups, a bunch of different springs in the back, different tunings, tensions, yada, 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 a whole bunch of different stuff. But I finally got it to work for me where it stays rock solid in tune, and it rips and it screams, and it makes me really, really inspired to create music. There are so many songs with dive bombs and weird, quirky riffs, all written and recorded on this guitar. This guitar is set up in drop A sharp. It has the EMG X series pickups in it, an afterburner, just a volume and a 5-way, and then I put some electrical tape on the actual whammy bar. I got that idea from West Borland. This guitar, probably the most featured on the album. A song called Handle It, her favorite, Snare Bombs Over Granddad. Anybody understand what the reference is for Snare Bombs Over Granddad? I'll just say it right now. It was a play on words with the song Bombs Over Baghdad by Outkast. And I put snare bombs in my song because I was really inspired by that after getting off of tour in the summertime. Anytime a snare bomb would hit during our set, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So like I wanted a song with snare bombs in it. And so I did a little play on words, Snare Bombs Over Granddad versus Bombs Over Baghdad. It's stupid, it's silly, but like that's where that silly name comes from. Anyway, man, yeah, this guitar, love it so much. Play it almost every single day. And anytime I create a reel or a short, as well as an original piece of music, I'm probably going to try to come up with something cool and unique on this guitar first and foremost anymore, just because of all the weird kind of quirky things you can do with the whammy bar besides shred and, you know, play it in a more conventional, traditional way. I write riffs similar to like West Borland, but I think mine are a little bit different, a little bit more quirky. But regardless, man, I get really inspired by this guitar and by what it can create and all the tricks that I can pull out of this guitar. Up next is my Badlands guitar GX1. This guitar has made it on the album for one song, as well as some background ambient stuff. So the song Rainy Nights was written and recorded on this guitar, I do believe. But Rainy Nights is a song that I wrote 7 years ago. When I first tried to write music for myself, I wrote it fresh out of the Army. Like literally the week that I got out of the Army, I wrote that song, that arrangement, and I've had it kind of kicking in my head. But I finally put it out this year under my artist name, and yeah, like I'm really proud of that kind of cool, soft, chill, kind of lo-fi feel element with that song. And last but not least, Big Brother is on the album. However, not exactly. Yes and no, but first and foremost, look at this guitar. I'm going to make a dedicated video on this guitar because it deserves it, and I've done a few slight modifications since the last time you saw it, maybe like 2-3 days ago at the time of this video being uploaded on my guitar collection video. I put on a clear coat and a little bit more gold flake spray just to give it a little bit more pop and sheen. And then I put several layers of clear coat just to make sure, like, I like the way this finish looks, and I might even put more on, honestly. I might take everything off again and spray it again, but I don't want this finish to really wear off much. I kind of like it how it is, and I wouldn't mind having this guitar look like this forever. But, you know, then again, I could always re-spray paint it and re-burn it, right? But anyway, I made sure to put on some clear coat just to try to preserve this finish because I think this guitar looks unreal, dude. It's like the most unique Les Paul, arguably ever, right? Staying on topic here, the song Endorphins, that's kind of remixed and re-recorded. I put that song out originally on Chronic Pain, but then I put like a hip-hop EDM version on the album, and it was written and recorded with this guitar back in like February of 2022. But that, everybody, is all the guitars that I used for my album Humans Taste Bad. January 10th, that's 2 days away at the time of this video being uploaded. So if you guys follow me on any sort of streaming service platform, go check it out, go give it some love, go give it some hate, just let me know what you guys think of it. The only thing I really ask is that you guys just take the time to check it out. You know, you can love it or hate it, but, you know, just give me some sort of feedback. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I always get better as a player and a creator whenever I take your guys' feedback into consideration for my next endeavor, okay? With that being said, everybody, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, thanks for listening to me talk about my guitars, and how I use them to create music. All right, everybody. Love you guys so much. I am out of here. See you guys in a video very, very soon. Later.